So today we will be creating our last video, and it will be a vlog on assessment through the use of technology, as well as summative discussion and reflection upon everything we've done in this course, EDCI336. So to begin, we'll be talking about assessment through the use of technology and how that can impact assessment and give you more options and different approaches you can take. And it really just broadens the horizons of how we can look at assessment, because there are different ways we can assess individuals through the use of technology and social media to demonstrate learning and understanding. Something we've shown through EDCI 336 is the use of social media and blogs to demonstrate our understanding and learning, and how professors can evaluate your work and assess what you've done through technology and the different platforms in which you present it. Now, there are two types of assessment that we want to look at, formative and summative. Formative is what?
So formative is assessment for learning. So this is where the focus is on monitoring the student response to and progress with instruction. So say the teacher provides the student with some work to do, and the teacher notices that, the student is struggling with this. So what the teacher would do is the teacher provides some modifications or tips so that the student can be successful and continue on with the work. Now, as this is going on, as the teacher has provided the student with modification and tips, the student will then be working on the assignment, whatever it may be, using the teacher's suggestions. Now, as the student is working, the teacher is closely monitoring the student. So the teacher is monitoring to make sure that the suggestions and cues that they provided to the student are working. And if they're not, this teacher is able to use other possible modifications or suggestions to the student to help them become more successful.
So what you're saying is that formative assessment is evaluating students really evaluating them through the learning process as they're learning and as they're doing, rather than assessing them at the end of the year or at the end of a unit to see what they know. They want to see them as they progress through the content.
Exactly.
To see how they learn, and so that you can make adaptations within what they're learning, so that it doesn't matter if this isn't working for you as we're doing it. I'm still going to evaluate you in the end without paying attention to how you've progressed and what has changed, and made modifications so that can help you. So instead, you want to do formative assessment, where it's a continual process. It's something that is happening through the whole term, so through the whole process of education.
Right. And like you mentioned a bit, that there's two types of assessments, right? So there's formative that we just spoke of, and then there's summative, which you mentioned. So summative assessment is where a teacher evaluates student learning at the end of an instructional unit.
So the opposite of formative assessment in many ways?
Pardon?
Is it the opposite of formative assessment?
It is. It's complete opposite.
Okay.
So some examples of summative assessment is, so you're doing a bunch of work, and your teacher wants to see your understanding of that topic. Okay. So ways they can do that is unit tests or projects. They can also provide the student with different grade levels as to where they see them with their understanding within the topic, whether they're just meeting expectations or they're just understanding it. They understand it somewhat, they're getting there. They understand it fairly well, or they completely understand the topic.
So now, how do we look at summative and formative assessment through the use of technology? If we incorporate technology, students show their learning through technology, or we use assessment tools through technology. So now, an example of an assessment tool through technology that I found online, and there are many different tools online. There was a web-based assessment tool called Learning Center, and it supports blended learning and flipped classrooms. And so with this tool, Learning Center, teachers can post materials online and create assessments to easily evaluate student learning. So they can engage student attention in the classroom with interactive polls and surveys, like a student response system, or integrate quizzes with video lessons to provide a self-paced online learning and assessment tool. So now what that means is that as you're doing it, as you're engaging them with technology through videos, through polls, through quizzes, and they're answering, you can monitor and assess them as it's as an ongoing process. It's not something, this is what you're going to do it, and at the end of it, I'm going to evaluate you. You can see as you're progressing through the content and the lessons that whether they understand or not, and how you can improve and help them and adapt it.
Right.
And technology is so versatile, and there's so many different ways that you can incorporate these kinds of tools. So for blended learning, where you have a blended learning environment through how you share the content and instruct, some of the tools you can use through Learning Center, you can share teaching materials, lessons, and stuff online for students. So it's available at home, and that you can lay everything out that is within what they're learning about in the lessons. So all that you need access to is technology. And you're able to create all these poll surveys and quizzes and different ways of assessing students on your own. So you can tailor it to each individual student's needs, or you can tailor it to the entire class, but it's something personal. And so you're personalizing the learning and the way you're presenting it to students.
So what happens if you want students to work on technology and use quizzes to evaluate their learning? What if a student doesn't have technology at home? Is there some ways that you can go around that to ensure that they are still getting the same learning opportunities as other students in the class?
Well, not everything is done at home for school, nor is it through this technologically incorporated aspects, because there is technology within most classrooms. They are to different extents, but you can still provide students with opportunities within the classroom to focus on technology. And obviously, if a student is not able to gain access to technology outside of the classroom, then there needs to be modifications there as well to adapt to that student's circumstances to give them the best possible opportunities to learn. And I think that pretty well covers it, don't you?
Yeah, I agree.
Over the course of this term, we have been exposed to a lot of different parts of technology and how it is used within education. And we've also learned a lot on how to do different things within education. Through our passion-based project, we've got to learn a lot about video editing and filming and making clones of ourselves within the videos, and doing a flip video so we can record ourselves on camera and also record our screen, and then show people how to video edit, and also finding all the different tools online that you can use for these different things within technology and education. And we're making all these sorts of connections through social media, learning how to use Twitter and YouTube, and how you can spread your content to the world, and how you can interact with other people online, and how that really opens it up to everyone. So what this course has done is allowed us to personalize the approach in which we take and what we're going to focus on within our learning. Rather than being told what we must do and how we must do it, we are allowed to approach the course and the different topics in whatever way we see as being most suited to our interests and abilities, and simply what we want to learn about. And I think that over the course of the term, we have had exactly that. We've pursued our interests, and we've learned what we wanted to get out of this course in a way that wouldn't have happened if we had simply been told what we had to do and how we would do it.
For me, this course has been very helpful in using technology to find different ways to include into the classroom. So this means by finding different games, various programs that will help the students become more successful by using a different approach. So technology, it is a fantastic way for students to get a more hands-on more visual approach towards their learning. As well, like Tina mentioned, the videos. I found that creating videos really help me get a better understanding for each topics, because what we do when we make the videos is we already have kind of an understanding about that topic, and then before we make the videos, we research those topics and we discuss and we write down more about that topic. So we begin to get a higher understanding of what that topic means and how you can incorporate that into the classroom. And then we create the video. So we have a conversation and we begin to discuss, and as we're talking, we begin to get a better understanding, and we begin to look at, oh, Tina might have a different view on that. That's interesting. And then you begin to think about that. And then as well as editing, it's just everything starts to come together, and you completely have a better understanding, and you're more aware of that idea and how it can be introduced in the classroom, and the benefits, and perhaps things that you should take note of, or things that you should be concerned about while introducing that into the classroom. So I feel that this course has very much helped me find resources and be able to find resources effectively using Twitter that are educational and that they have been peer reviewed by other teachers, other administrators, other professionals that have been successful in their classrooms. So it's definitely going to help me when I become a teacher, because I'll have a better understanding of these topics, and I'll be able to recognize students and where they may be struggling, and I'll think back to, we learned about this in EDCI 336. I can perhaps use this to make sure that this student can become successful in their learning.